Thank you, Sandra. Good evening, everyone. Members of council, members of the public joining us in the gallery, and those online. Welcome to our Committee of the Whole meeting, Planning Board meeting, and Special Council meeting of July 7th, 2026 here in the city of Summerside. We'll take each one of our meetings in order. We'll start with our Planning Board meeting. So I'll call the Planning Board meeting to order here at 5:30 p.m. I'd ask for a mover and a seconder from Planning Board to move and second the agenda as before you. So move Councillor Trenholm, second Councillor Doiron, members of Planning Board. Satisfied with the agenda, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, changes, revisions? Hearing none, we move along. We begin each one of our meetings here in Summerside by acknowledging that the land upon which we're gathered is Mi'kmaq territory. Abogway is covered by the historic treaties of peace and friendship. At this time, I'll ask any member of council to declare a conflict of interest with respect to the one item on the Planning Board agenda tonight.
I will, even though I'm not
Councillor
on
Morrison?
Planning Board or anything, I'll sit out number 5.
Thank you, Councillor Morrison. Number 5, that's the next one. We're at number 5. So just for the record, there's Madam Clerk. Councillor Morrison is declared a conflict with respect to the next item, 0. Gallant Street, Key Avenue, Phase 3A, preliminary subdivision approval. At this point, I'll hand it over to our Chair of Planning Board, Councillor Doiron. Councillor.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. Item this evening on Planning Board is a preliminary subdivision application for 0 Gallant Street, which is Key Avenue, Phase 3A. The applicant is requesting preliminary approval for Phase 3A of the Key Avenue subdivision. Phase 3A is known as 0 Gallant Street, PID number 71191, to create 4 new lots and 1 remainder for a total of 5. Phase 3B will be coming at a later date. The Planning Board is required to make a recommendation to Council on this application, as preliminary approval is required by Council before the development can proceed. The background: application was received from Enterprise Venture Group Inc. to subdivide a portion of PID number 71191 into 5 lots. The lots are intended to be, but are not limited to, a townhouse dwelling development. The proposed lots, phasing, and the public streets are indicated on preliminary survey plan prepared by Sandstone Surveying and Engineering. Drawing number 25298C5, dated June 2nd, 2026. At this time, the applicant is only requesting preliminary approval for Phase 3A. Council approved the zoning and official plan amendment of the Key Avenue Phase 3 development land, except the back parcel of PID 71191, which was already zoned R4, on September 5th, 2023. It went before Planning Board on August 21st, 2023. The rezoning brought the property from C2 to R4. Phases 1 and 2 of the Key Avenue subdivision went before Planning Board on March 2nd, 2022. It was granted final approval on October 27th, 2022. The housing type in the first 2 phases of the Key Avenue subdivision is semi-detached and is near full development. The application before Planning Board today was received from Enterprise Venture Group on June 4th, 2026. The application is for a 2-phase development, Phase 3A and 3B, the first of which is under consideration. Phase 3A proposes to subdivide PID number 71191 into 4 new lots plus 1 remainder, future Phase 3B. The subdivision is being proposed to facilitate the development of medium to high density residential building lots. At this time, there will be 3 townhouse buildings and 1 row house building, lot number 3. See the proposed phasing concept plan below, and that's attached to the package as well. The proposed subdivision and public streets are indicated on the preliminary subdivision plan prepared by Sandstone Surveys and Engineering, drawing number 25298C5, dated June 2nd, 2026, attached as Schedule A to this report. And the report is required under Section 3.6 of the Subdivision and Site Development Bylaw. Council, Planning Board, and the Development Officer shall consider the following general criteria when reviewing development applications under this bylaw as applicable. A, conformity with this bylaw. The proposed development generally conforms with the Subdivision and Site Development Bylaw. The applicant will be required to meet the development standards of this bylaw, which will be confirmed through the engineering review process should this subdivision be granted preliminary approval. Staff did not request the applicant host a public information session because this parcel was rezoned in 2023. A tentative plan of subdivision that matches what is being presented today was included as part of the information package during the rezoning process. B, conformity with the official plan. This development would have initially been reviewed against the official plan when it was rezoned in 2023. The proposed subdivision generally conforms with the official plan's residential goals and sustainability objectives by building higher density residential buildings in proximity to employment and service areas, by diversifying the types of housing found in Summerside, and by more efficiently using municipal infrastructure. C, conformity with the zoning bylaw. This proposed lot layout aligns with the development standards for the R3 zone, as directed to review by section 19.5A of the R4 zone. The proposed townhouses and/or row houses are permitted in the R4 zone. D, the orderly and following nature of the development. The proposed subdivision is contiguous to existing municipal streets and infrastructure and is therefore considered orderly and following. E, physical suitability of the site for the proposed development, including avoidance of natural hazards, undue water runoff, or environmental damage. This site has some storm water drainage challenges, and the developer is proposing to drain Phase 3B through the Prince County Hospital site, which is private property, and this storm system not under the city's jurisdiction. The developer will be required to provide provincial approval for the connection to their drainage system, show that there is enough capacity in this system, and receive easements for the developer to install and maintain the infrastructure which is placed on the provincial property prior to the city giving approval for this development. Though this issue is associated with Phase 3B, if the developer does not receive permission from the province to allow drainage to connect to their system, the storm system for Phase 3A will require changes to the design to have the elevations work so that the area can drain completely towards Phase 3A, rather than out via Prince County Hospital system. F, compatibility of the proposed development with the present and future surrounding patterns of streets, lots, and services, including conformity with any city concept plans. The proposed subdivision for residential development is bounded by institutional, commercial, and residential uses, and such is suitable for the area. The streets will be designed to connect into the existing street network. One of the Rotary Park accesses will be approximately 600 meters following the proposed and existing roadways of Phase 3A from the proposed development. G, adequacy of the applicant's proposals for traffic circulation, parking, pedestrian access, water supply, sewage disposal, and storm drainage, including the adequacy of city streets and services to handle increased loads. For sewer, the new sewer main infrastructure from the Key Avenue subdivision can handle the sewage flows from the new Gallant Street Phase 3A. The two sewer main stubs at the ends of Gallant Street and Venture Court are to be extended into these two phases, 3A and 3B, to service the new development. For water, the new water infrastructure from Key Avenue subdivision can handle the water requirements for the new Gallant Street Phase 3A. The two water main stubs at the ends of Gallant Street and Venture Court are to be extended into these two phases, 3A and 3B, to service the new development. Pedestrian access to this street network is at McEwen Road and Walker Drive. The streets will be designed to connect into the existing street network. For stormwater, see the comments that we made above in Section E. And electrical, the developer is required to coordinate their designs with Summerside Electric to ensure there is sufficient space or easements for power line infrastructure to occupy. Due to the density of the development, the developer may be required to install underground power lines at their cost. There is an existing electrical easement that may conflict with the proposed Street A entrance. The developer will need to confirm there are no clashes with existing power line infrastructure in this area before bringing new street or infrastructure through. The municipal infrastructure constructed as part of Phase 3A is intended to support both the initial residential development and future phases of the Key Avenue development. H, suitability of parkland provisions. Parkland dedication for this property has been satisfied, and so no lands, cash in lieu, or a combination of the two are owed. I, impacts on city finances and budgets. The preliminary subdivision approval does not have an impact on city finances and budgets. J, proof of conformity with any applicable provincial legislation and regulations. This meets the intent of the province-wide minimum development standards regulations, and each proposed parcel has frontage along a public road. The developer shall conform with all other provincial requirements as applicable. And K, other matters as considered relevant. there is an emergency helicopter flight path for the Prince County Hospital that may create height limitations in this area. It is the developer's responsibility to obtain confirmation that the proposed developments, i.e. building height and overhead power line infrastructure, do not impact the flight path. And the staff review. Staff support Enterprise Venture Group's application for preliminary subdivision approval to subdivide PID number 71191, Phase 3A, creating 4 new lots and 1 remainder lot, which will be Phase B in the future, for a total of 5 lots intended for residential development. 1, the developer shall satisfy all municipal servicing requirements, including A, coordinating their electrical designs with Summerside Electric, and B, addressing the stormwater drainage to the city's satisfaction. 2, the developer enters into a subdivision construction agreement. 3, the developer has satisfied the parkland dedication requirements, therefore no additional dedication is required. And 4, the developer must provide information from the Prince County Hospital or the relevant authority regarding the emergency helicopter flight path and any height limitations. As per Section 8.5 of the Subdivision and Site Development Bylaw, the Planning Board shall make a recommendation to Council on this application before it is approved or denied. The Planning Board recommendation, whether carried or defeated, will be brought forward for a Council for a final decision. And the Planning Board recommends Council grant preliminary subdivision approval to Enterprise Venture Group's application to subdivide PID number 71191, Phase 3A, creating 4 new lots and 1 remainder lot for 5 lots total intended for middle to high density residential development, subject to the following. 1, the developer shall satisfy all municipal servicing requirements, including A, coordinating their electrical designs with Summerside Electric, B, addressing the stormwater drainage to the city's satisfaction. 2, the developer enters into a subdivision construction agreement. 3, the developer has satisfied the parkland dedication requirements, therefore no additional dedication is required. And 4, the developer must provide information from the relevant authority regarding the emergency helicopter flight path and any height limitations it may create. And that will be moved by myself, and I would ask for a seconder from the Planning Board, Councillor Adams. If there are any questions or comments, now is the time. Councillor Trenholm.
Sure. Thank you. Not the first time I talked all day, but anyway, I'm just curious, and I think I already know the answer, because when we're looking at, maybe go to page 6 where it shows the map, just for Council and for everybody. Yep. Right there, perfect, yeah. So I'm just curious, because right now where we see it starting on the proposed road, Street A, there's a path that's been mowed and it's been shoveled, plowed, like through the winter and through the summer. It's a clear pedestrian informal access, and I do know it's on private land, but I just know I've had residents reach out to me when they saw this. They're concerned or questioning, what does that mean if that route? It's a safe route that I know people who live as far away as Lafergie Avenue don't have a vehicle, as opposed to walking down Granville Street where there's lots of traffic. They go on Gallant Avenue Street, sorry, and walk to Walmart and Superstore. So I'm thinking, based on the fact that I can see suitability of parkland provisions, it's been satisfied, so no lands, etc., can be used. But when we have such natural shortcuts that the community themselves create, it's always best practice to way to strengthen that. And there may be nothing that can be done, but I regularly would pass and you'd see students from Athena always going down that. It's a really safe route. We have seniors, we have people who live on Walker Avenue who would choose that, and as well as in this development itself, that would be the route that I would assume that they would take if they were just going to walk to the Walmart or walk to the Superstore. So I don't know what can be done. I would like that route to remain, but I don't know what's possible. So I'm just opening that up to, I guess, feedback to what is possible, and if it's not, it's not.
So as it is now, that path that's in there, I presume, is that an easement or a right of way or anything, or that's just private land that happens to have a path on it?
Private land, yes.
Yeah. So once this development is in place, that path will be replaced, according to the graphic, by a street. And right behind that street is the 5-unit townhouse or row house with the parking behind it. So theoretically, if whoever owned that land was okay with people using the path, they still may be okay with them walking up to the left of that 3-unit building, or that 5-unit building. This page here. It's on page, yeah, it's that page if you just zoom out a bit. So the border of lots is still there. If whoever owns the land is okay with either leaving a path there or okay with people traveling there, like it's still there, other than the road at the beginning. That might be a conversation to ask, or a question to ask them if they're okay with it. I mean, obviously people are walking there now, whether they have permission to or not, so.
Yeah, no, I certainly appreciate that. I think it's one of the unique situations where it is private land, but it is land that the current owner has been maintaining as a walking path. So it is really, truly supportive. And maybe it's, I would just like it to continue, and however we can, or however it's possible. Like I say, if it's not possible, it's understandable. But it's a safe route that the community themselves have identified, and enough so that they've reached out to me to say, do you know what's being proposed?
Yeah, thank you. Just to Councillor Trenholm's comment there, on that trail that basically leads to Walmart, that type, and you know, the developers, or I don't know who cuts the grass there now, whether it's the developers or the city cuts it, but they were okay with people using it. So I think it's more of a conversation we need to have with the owners of the property. So, thank you.
Yeah, I just have a question there for staff. Can council require that the developer provide the city with an express registered easement for public pedestrian access along the western boundary of access, and meeting their obligations under the MGA for creating safe communities? So that's just a question for
Planning board recommendation, it's just something we can decide at council. Yeah, okay. Okay, I would be interested in doing that for sure. So if there's nothing further, I would ask for a vote from planning board. All in favor say aye. Aye. And opposed? None, so that will go to council for a final decision with planning board's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor. With that, we'll adjourn our planning board meeting, and we need to track down Councillor Morrison, wherever he is. And he went that way somewhere, so we'll find him. And when he comes back, we'll begin our committee of the whole meeting. It'll just be a minute. All right, we'll continue with our committee of the whole meeting here. I'll call to order the committee of the whole meeting here of July 7, 2026. Call for a mover and a seconder with respect to approving the agenda before us tonight. So moved, Deputy Snow, second. Councillor Adams, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any changes, revisions, adjustments? Seeing and hearing none, we'll proceed.
Your
Yep,
Worship,
Councillor Adams, yes.
There's no report for 4D.
For D, okay, yeah, I made a note.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor. With that, I'll ask any member of council to declare a conflict of interest with respect to any item on the committee of the whole meeting agenda. Councillor Cameron.
Yeah, 5.
Councillor Cameron has declared a conflict of interest with respect to item 5A, recommendation bylaw CS 15. So when we get to that, Councillor Cameron, we'll give you, and you can go to the green room or wherever Rick just was. All right, on we go. Committee reports and recommendations. I think if I skip over someone, that's because I didn't think that there's anything to report. So if you do have something, just let me know. But we'll start with 4A, Finance Committee, Councillor MacDougall. Councillor.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. We did have a meeting on June 17th, only one item on the agenda, and it was to do with the Vulnerable Populations Grant application. I do have a recommendation here, and here's the, I'll read it into the minutes. Council, supporting explanation. Council approved $22,500 in the 2026-27 budget for grants to nonprofit organizations that service our vulnerable populations. The grant aims to empower registered nonprofit organizations and groups seeking nonprofit status to address the needs of vulnerable populations, including seniors, youth, and those impacted by the high cost of living. The Finance Committee at their latest meeting on June 17th reviewed applications received and passed a motion to recommend that Council award 4 nonprofit organizations and 1 group seeking nonprofit status, $2,500 each. This will leave a budget remaining of 0 for the 2026-27 budget. The Vulnerable Populations Grant is available to registered nonprofit organizations and may also be used to assist organizations with costs associated with obtaining registered nonprofit status. The recommendation is the Finance Committee recommends that Council award the following 4 nonprofit organizations with the Vulnerable Populations Grant of $2,500 each. The 4 nonprofit organizations is 1, Connect to Employment PEI to purchase non-perishable food for their Hope Covered. 2, Island Pregnancy Center to provide transportation support and evidence-based programming for vulnerable mothers and babies living at Hope House. 3, Salvation Army to provide critical support and services for children, not just during emergencies, but each day through their many community programs and services, example, meal program. And 4, St. Vincent de Paul to continue to provide support to the vulnerable population through their current initiatives of assisting financially with rent, utilities, medical, dental expenses, household items. A resolution will be presented at July's monthly council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair MacDougall. So, yeah, any questions for Chair Finance? Seeing none, Councillor, that'll come forward as a resolution at the next council meeting, is that correct? Yes. Okay, great. Thank you very much, Councillor. With that, I'll move to the next B, Bylaw and Governance Committee, Chair Councillor McColeman.
Thank you, Your Worship, and members of Council. The report this evening is just very brief. The Bylaw and Governments Committee received an overview of the city's new workplace harassment policy, which was approved and implemented by the organization on June 2026. This replaces 2 outdated policies and is aligned with the PEI Human Rights Commission, Workers' Compensation Board of PEI, and provincial employment standards. Finally, the committee also reviewed and discussed the change log for the grants bylaw. We recommend staff present information on this bylaw to the rest of council, and that will be forthcoming.
Thank you, Councillor McColeman. Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll keep moving along. I think Councillor Doiron, Planning Committee, wanted to speak briefly. Councillor? Yeah,
just a very brief update that we will be following Council's request last month, or could have even been 2 months ago now, that we'll be meeting next week for our regular Planning Committee meeting, but we will also be in the presence of some developers to give feedback on the resolution regarding complete streets. The invitation has also gone out to Council, and I think everyone has accepted the invite to that, so that's where we are for now. No new items to report. We're just trying to get through the complete streets piece, and then, yeah, so we should have an update hopefully we'll be reintroducing the resolution that was already introduced, or a very fine-tuned, tweaked version of that, depending on what we get for feedback at the next council meeting, or possibly depending on how the summer schedule sort of allows. So a very near future council meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Duran. Seeing any questions? Seeing none, we'll move through. I know no further updates from Action Plan for Safer Communities. A quick, just general notice to members of the public. We have a number of committees who have completed their work, so I think at the next council meeting, we'll be dissolving a number of those committees who have completed their work and done a really good job. We try not to have committees sitting around doing nothing. Parks and Green Spaces, no update for today. Councillor Trenholm, I don't think. Councillor Cameron, Youth Advisory, no update for today, correct? Downtown Transformation, Deputy Snow, briefly.
Just briefly, later this evening during our special council meeting, the resolution for the adoption of the GROW program will be coming forward for council to decide on the recommendations brought forward by staff and the implementation committee and the other committees that done all the work to see it get this far. So just happy to see us continuing to move that along.
Thank you, Councillor Snow. Councillor Morrison, nothing to report. Your committee's made all its recommendations. I think we are still waiting to have a public meeting, so I'm assuming that, do we know that date yet? Or
We're just in the works. It's likely going to be the first week of August and be in front of council at the August monthly meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you, CAO. Thank you, Councillor. And Smart Cities, I know you have a meeting tomorrow, I believe. All the other work underway. Thank you, Council. With that, we'll move into item 5. We'll take a moment to allow Councillor Cameron to step out of the room, and I'd look to welcome up Director of Legal Services Ken Durgun and Bylaw Officer Thomas Champion to present to Council on a recommendation with respect to Bylaw CES 15, Animal Control. Welcome, Kendra. Welcome, Thomas. I'll hand it over to you.
Good evening, Your Worship, councillors. I'm here this evening with Bylaw Officer Thomas Champion, and we're here to present information in regards to an application under the Animal Control Bylaw. Earlier this year, in the winter time, the city received information about a property, specifically 34 McWilliams Drive, in regards to ducks being kept on the property. And our bylaw officer investigated the situation and found, yes, there were ducks on the property, and spoke to the owners of the property and advised that in order to keep ducks on the property, they would need to make an application pursuant to the Animal Control Bylaw, which is why we're here this evening, because the city did in fact receive an application from the owners of 34 McWilliams Drive, David Kenny and Mariah Allen. As part of the process that relates to the application, the owner of the property was required to indicate the purpose for which they were keeping the ducks. And scrolling down here. And the purpose identified was eggs, to supply them eggs. He also provided information in terms of how the ducks were being kept. In a new shed barn, weather and predator proof, steel, all fed, kept in steel, sealed bins to prevent rodents, fenced in area attached to allow outside daily sawdust bedding. As part of the process, he was required to notify his neighbors that he was making this application, and so he provided a copy of his application to the neighbors identified in the attachments at the addresses located, and they would have signed not that they agreed to the application, but that they were being notified the application was being made. You have all this information. The identifiers are all there, and that those who were provided did sign, in fact, that they'd received a copy of the application. Subsequent to that, Bylaw Officer Champion provided the neighbors with a written notification that they had the opportunity to provide written feedback to the application, and he hand-delivered letters to each of the dwellings located within the vicinity of the 34 McWilliams Drive. And subsequent to that, we did in fact receive information from some of the neighbors. And the neighbor statements are attached. They are there for your viewing. I will quickly summarize the information. That being a concern about ducks becoming loose from the property and attending at their own property, leaving feces, and the smell and sound of the ducks, and the attraction of rodents not typically having been seen in the area in high numbers, namely rats and skunks and foxes and a high number of crows. And one of the neighbors does in fact operate an Airbnb or a seasonal rental, and they were concerned or displayed concern in their comments that it was negatively impacting their business because of the sound, smell, rats, etc. Did I miss anything there, Thomas? Okay. For just, I guess, for a bit of a visual, Thomas did, I'll go back to that one in a minute, did take pictures at the site, as was his right under our bylaw and as was permitted by the applicant, to show the state or how the area was being kept. You see ducks. You see ducks and the yard and the shavings that are talked about, and duck manure. I don't know if that's the proper term for duck feces, but duck manure, and how it was kept, at least during the winter. And just to show a bit of a visual as to where this is, the property with the X here is 34 McWilliams Drive, and so the area is situated as you see it there. At the back of the property is land owned by Curran and Briggs, and I guess it's somewhat recently been found out that the actual location of the shed where the ducks are being kept in the enclosure is not on or located on the the 34 McWilliams Drive, but is in fact located on the Curran and Briggs property. I believe Curran and Briggs has been made aware, but haven't made any comment as such. So, in accordance with, and I'm going to quickly scroll up here, the provisions of the Animal Control Bylaw. Here we go. So it talks at 18.3, the applicant shall make a written application to the animal control officer stating the proposed type and number of animals, the purpose, and proof that the property owners within a radius of 200 feet have been notified, which proof shall be in accordance with the form provided by the city, together with such other information as the applicant may wish to submit. And then 18.4 says the animal control officer shall assess whether or not the animals are allowed under the city zoning bylaw and the desirability of issuing the animal license as per the application based upon such criteria as seems pertinent and shall report to council. So Thomas was able to determine that there were no specific prohibitions within the zoning bylaw which would prevent ducks. So therefore, this bylaw is how the application will be treated. And lastly, council shall consider the recommendations of the animal control officer, any submissions made by the applicant, any submissions made by adjoining properties, and such further matters as it may deem necessary, and shall then by resolution grant or refuse the application and set a fee for the granting thereof if it's granted. So that's the process that we followed. This is a process that's new to me. I haven't seen it occur while in my time with the city. And ideally, our citizens would know in advance that they would have to apply to actually obtain approval or a permit to keep these types of animals on their property. And I believe there actually was some information in the sense that he had, the gentleman in the party who owns the property had
To that, again, thank you, Kendra, and thank you, Thomas, for this and all the other work, obviously, the other councillors mentioned. We really appreciate all the hard work in our community. It makes, your good work is making a difference, so we really appreciate it. You too, Kendra.
well, and it makes my job a whole lot easier. We work well together.
Great, thank you. Look forward to seeing that resolution at our next meeting. We can get Councillor Cameron back from wherever he is. And we can move to 6, which is committee of the whole discussion items. There are none for this meeting. So with that, before...
Your worship.
Yes, Councillor Adams.
I just wanted, just in my role as Emergency Services Chair, I just wanted to send condolences to the EMT family on PEI today, who lost 2 EMTs in the line of duty and working today. So our thoughts and prayers are with them and also to the patient that they were transporting. So anyways.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Councillor Adams. The flags in front of City Hall are flying at half mast, and certainly a loss for our entire province, and our thoughts are with their families for sure. With that, the committee of the whole, there are no discussion items set for tonight, so we will adjourn our committee of the whole meeting of council, and we'll move, if council so pleases, straight into our special council meeting and keep ticking along here if that's all right with everybody. Great, so we'll call to order the special council meeting here, 6:24 p.m. on July 7th, 2026. I'll call for a mover and a seconder with respect to the agenda before you. Move, so moved. Councillor Adams, second. Councillor McColeman. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any changes or revisions? Seeing and hearing none, we'll proceed as laid out in your package. At this point, I'll ask for any member of council to declare a conflict of interest with respect to any item this evening. Seeing and hearing none, we'll move right into resolution. Item 4, resolution COS 26-036, transfer from reserve. I'll hand it over to Councillor MacDougall, Chair of Finance. Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Resolution COS 26-036, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Rick Morrison. Whereas subsection 152(4) of the Municipal Government Act states that council may authorize capital expenditures not included in the capital budget if the total does not exceed the amount authorized to be transferred from the operating budget, the amount authorized to be borrowed under
Resolution COS 26-037, moved by Councillor Norman McColeman and seconded by myself, Councillor Court. New Neighbor Capital Credit, Professional Services Grant, Vacant Space Activation Grant, Paint the Town. 3, Special Projects, Large Building Incentive Fund, Second Floor Residential Activation. And be it further resolved that the Chief Administrative Officer be authorized to establish a staff-led working group to develop the governance and accountability framework for the GROW program, undertake consultation with council, downtown property owners, businesses, and community organizations, finalize program guidelines, eligibility criteria, application processes, and evaluation measures, identify and coordinate any delivery organization where appropriate, and return to council as required with the finalized program guidelines and any recommendations necessary to implement the GROW program. This resolution is pursuant to the discussion held after the staff presentation at the monthly council meeting of June 17th, 2026. Moved by Councillor Norma D. McColeman and Corey Snow. Yes, moved by Councillor McColeman.
All right.
And seconded by myself.
All right, resolution COS 26-037, moved by Councillor McColeman, seconded by Councillor Snow, is on the floor. Further comments, questions, statements from members of council? Seeing and hearing none, before I call for a vote, I would just put a request to Deputy Snow that perhaps at the August council meeting, you can provide council with an update on the developments of the program and the initial activities, so council can be aware of what, how this actualizes in the downtown, the community, as it rolls forward. Great. Further comments, questions, statements? Seeing and hearing none, we'll call for a vote. Oh, Councillor Adams, yes?
I just did want to, since Jordan's here, I just did want to say thank you for your efforts that you're making downtown. It's, we look out, I'm across the road, so we see what you're doing daily, so it's much appreciated.
Thank you, Councillor. With that, we'll call, Councillor McColeman, yep.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
I just wanted to just speak just for a moment on the resolution. I think this is something that I know Deputy Mayor has brought it forward, and I was part of the resolution, but I also wanted to thank each council member, because this is something that it's really important to our downtown, but it's also very important to our overall community, that for economic spin-off, for tourism, for really bringing people into the downtown core, seeing some of the buildings really revitalized and used. And I really feel that it would not happen if it wasn't for the great conversation, sometimes maybe disagreements or differing opinions, but we usually end up coming into the middle, and hopefully the product, we will see the benefits of that down the road. So thank you to everybody for your support on it.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Cameron? No, you're okay with that. All right, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution is carried. Thank you, Council. That adjourns our special council meeting of July 7, 2026. The next item on the, sorry, my apologies. Please strike that from the record. That doesn't adjourn our meeting. We just move into an in-camera session here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 items. If it's okay with Council, I'm going to move item C to item A, as I think we have people joining us, and so they don't have to sit out in the hallway while we go over the other items. And with that, we'll just take a brief 3 to 4 minute recess, and we'll start up again. Thank you.